Fighting Common Core is Dr. Duke Pesta, who is joining us on our Newsmaker line. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Well today. How are you?
I'm doing fine. You're the academic director of something called Freedom Project. What's that?
It is basically an online homeschool group that helps moms and dads who are considering homeschool but don't know how to do it. I'm also a professor of English at the University of Wisconsin.
Okay. Do they need a professor of English in Wisconsin? I thought that was, is this like an ELL course for... I'm sorry.
No, believe it or not, I'm actually a Shakespeare professor.
Oh, okay. So you would probably have some opinions to offer about the snafu the vice president got into yesterday here in Iowa.
I would, in fact, it's interesting. I'm teaching The Merchant of Venice right now, from which the character Shylock emerges. And I tell my kids all the time, if you actually read the play, you would see that Shakespeare's use of the character is actually quite, for lack of a better word, progressive. But the word has the word has taken on negative connotations for a lot of years. You can't shake that.
Merchant of, I think, for some reason, I remember I was in school a long time ago. I was in that play. I was the, what was I? Oh, the Prince of Aragon.
Wow, good for you. That's fantastic.
I don't
the wrong pocket.
I don't remember anything seriously. But Shylock he had to apologize because that's anti-Semitic and insensitive. So he had to issue an apology. Two things about that. Why is it insulting? And secondly, why is it if you insult that group you have to apologize, but if you insult my group, you get that's a laugh line on some of the national TV shows?
Well, I'm very sympathetic to issues of anti-Semitism, the way it's flourishing now across Europe. So I understand sensitivity. Abe Foxman, the reason, to answer your question, the reason that we have to apologize to certain groups and not to others is groups like Abe Foxman and the Defamation League, or even CARE, the Islamic group. They have such really powerful watchdog organizations who make you apologize.
Okay.
I mean, Biden has said a lot of stupid things, and I have no sympathy for him. But that's one that's really actually kind of borderline. But when you have the organizations in place to hold people accountable, particularly from the liberal side of things, you're going to get your way 9 times out of 10.
Well, should we learn from that and become just as hypersensitive and intolerant as the left?
No, and that's the irony of Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice. People, I bet old Abe Foxman has never read it. If you ever read the play, you find out that Shakespeare's play ultimately is a paean to tolerance and to cultural understanding. And so to take something out of context from the play like they are doing and to make it a slur, well, that seems to be totally hypocritical in what we have to fight.
Okay. As I remember the history, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, on which I am frequently, Doc, but back then it was illegal to charge interest. That is, in the mainstream culture, it was illegal for Christians to charge interest for loans. The banks, but that didn't mean that people didn't need credit. So what they did, and they still needed to borrow money, it takes all the incentive out of loaning money if you can't get it paid for it or get a return on your investment. So, okay, as good Christians, we can't charge interest, but if we borrow money from the Jews, we can still have borrowed money, and then we can vilify those people because I think it was total hypocrisy on the part of Christendom at that moment.
Well, that's one of the major points of Shakespeare's play, that the Venetians were discouraged heavily from borrowing and lending at interest. It was considered usury and considered unchristian.
Right.
And now that did not stop the Jews living in Venice from doing it. And, of course, it was foolish Christians who went to the Jews and asked for these exorbitant loans. So there's a lot, if you read Shakespeare's play, there's a lot of hypocrisy on both sides and in both camps. And Shakespeare very deftly exposes the hypocrisy on both sides as a kind of plea for a greater cultural understanding. And yet here we are 400 years later.
Yeah, still doing the same stuff.
Well, I would bet my bottom dollar that Joe Biden couldn't read Shakespeare even if he wanted to. So we find ourselves caught